Hi, I'm Effie, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about all of the book subscription books that I have on my shelves and kind of trying to organize and start to think about prioritizing. Despite saying in December of last year that I was going to be making the books that I'd received in book subscription boxes a priority in 2024, frankly, that's not been the case. I was pretty sure that I'd done a bad job of doing this, but I was quite shocked when I went back through the books that I've read this year and discovered that at the time of filming, I've read a thoroughly underwhelming total of 2 books that I've received in a subscription box in 2024, that is. Obviously, 2 books is not enough data to draw any meaningful conclusions about if the books that are being curated for these boxes match my personal taste. However, based on what I did read, it is a thoroughly mixed bag, with one of the books being a new all-time favourite and the other book being one that I hated so much I unhauled it immediately. I say this knowing that best laid plans and all that, but in 2025, it is very much my intention that I will actually make a dent in my cache of books. In order to do this, I've gone through and reread the synopses for each of these books and given them an intrigue score from 1 to 10. 1 being not that interested, and 10 being I'm very much interested, and if I could start them now, I would. Behind me, you'll see footage of the books for each of those scores. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and finally 10. In addition to intrigue scores, I've split them into different non-exclusive categories. The categories are as follows: vampire books, I am me after all, and of course that would be its own category. Books that I've read from the author before, books that I've read some of previously and DNF'd for whatever reason, books which are signed and dedicated, and finally, I asked my best friend to choose 5 books from the stash that she would particularly like me to prioritise. So this first category of books, I feel like I don't have a lot to say, as I asked my best friend to send me across 5 books she wanted me to prioritise from this set of BookBox books. And she didn't give me reasons. I didn't ask for reasons, to be honest. So I'm just going to run down the 5 that she wanted me to prioritise. An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. The Darkness Within Us by Tricia Levenseller. Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. And Murder Road by Simone St. James. And then for vampire books, again, not much to say, just that they are vampire books, and you know me, I love a vampire story. So we've got The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling, Cruel Illusions by Margie Thurston, Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright, and Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow. But for the next grouping, I do have a little bit more to say, because these are books that I've read some of and subsequently DNF'd. For a good chunk of these, I think it was a case of I wanted to try a chapter for BookBox books that I was getting in, but that only lasted for a month or so. So we've got some of them that I've literally just tried the first chapter, and I'll just talk you through them and my initial thoughts. So Beasts of Prey I actually read because I was going to Yalk and Ayanna Gray was going to be there. And helpfully for the Yalk books, I actually made a note. So the first chapter I said, I've enjoyed what I have read so far, and I think this book has the potential to be an all-time favourite. But something about it feels like not the right book for now. Maybe it feels complex. So basically, I think I'm going to love this book. Also, this is one of the 2 books that I've actually got dedicated, as well as just being signed. And the next DNF book is another one that I got dedicated, as well as it being signed. And obviously it's a DNF book. So my helpful little post-it note says, this feels as though it will be a book that will be very easy to devour. It reads easily and has introduced the reader to a lot of world building in 4 pages without feeling info dumpy. Very intrigued to hear more of Ren and Rose's story. So clearly I thought it was going to be a good book for me. The rest of them I don't have helpful post-it notes, but Dear Centurion by Akwaeke Emezi, I remember feeling a bit confused by this one because it reads like fiction, but I don't think it is. And I don't think I liked how it read. But I'm definitely going to be giving it another chance because I don't think I read anywhere near enough to really get a feel for what this is like. A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske. I started this because it was up for Hugo consideration. And I was devouring it. Honestly, if I'd had the time, I would have easily finished it because it was so good what I read of it, and I'm so excited to continue. The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. So my initial impression of it was deeply meh, like I wasn't drawn in. I didn't feel like I wanted to continue reading. But again, 1 chapter is not really enough to make that kind of judgment. But, you know, you've got to judge them somehow. Frost by Hernan Diaz, I was so sucked in. I really wanted to continue and find out what was going on with this book. Belladonna feels like exactly my cup of tea. The fact that she's got this kind of weird friendship, but also animosity with death was such a unique and intriguing concept. And I want to know more about her whole backstory. And then The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwent. I think it was like readable enough, but it wasn't readable. Like, no, what am I trying to say? Like, it was fairly readable, but also it wasn't the kind of story that held my attention. And I think the reason this got DNF'd was just because I just wasn't reaching for it. And the remaining books are ones that I've read from the authors before. So Bridget Camarera, I read Letters to the Lost, which obviously is going to be a very different book to this. But I loved Letters to the Lost. From Margie Thurston, I read Vampires, Hearts and Other Dead Things. And I remember it being kind of mid, but it was readable enough. The Darkness Within Us is a sort of sequel, sort of companion to The Shadows Between Us, which is the other Trisha Levenseller that I've read. And it really took me by surprise because I loved The Shadows Between Us and I didn't expect to love it. So Alexis Henderson is kind of a weird one in that I haven't finished a book from them, but it was House of Hunger and it was very slow going, very atmospheric, and I think this is likely to also be atmospheric, so it's a case of when I'm in the mood for something a bit slower, a bit more gothic, I think they might be the author for me. I've just seen that I missed one DNF and it was Some Desperate Glory, which was another one that I read for Hugo consideration, and it's another one that if I'd had the time, I would have been easily devouring it. Aliette de Bodard, I have tried, I think, a little bit of a couple of this author's works, and my hesitancy is that I think it's shared universe. But so you're meant to be able to read the books independent of one another. But I know that I was feeling very lost with what I read, as if there's assumed knowledge because it's a shared universe, except I didn't have that grounding of knowledge. Veronica Roth, like many people, I've read the Divergent series. Unlike many people, I actually really loved the ending. So I am cautiously optimistic. Elizabeth Lim, I read Unravel the Dusk and Spin the Dawn, and loved them. Caitlin Starling, I've read... What have I read from Caitlin Starling? The Luminous Dead? Yeah, The Luminous Dead, I think. Was it The Luminous Dark? I enjoyed that one. It's very claustrophobic, very eerie, but it makes me excited to pick this up. Lydia Miller, I read the Children's Bible and disliked it, so doesn't bode well. Elizabeth St. John Mandel is another one where, like, I haven't finished a book from. I started The Glass Hotel and was just completely lost. Well, I got a fair chunk through and was still completely lost. Sylvia Moreno Garcia, I read Certain Dark Things, and that was an absolute slay. I also read a bit of The Seventh Veil of Salome and was lost and not very engaged. Saber Tahir, I've read the quadrology quartet, that this book is a spin-off of, companion to, etc. So I am so eager to read this. Catherine Doyle is one of the duo that wrote Twin Crowns, so what I've read of Twin Crowns is my experience with Catherine Doyle. And Kaylin Bayron, I read Cinderella Is Not Dead and it didn't work for me. So those are all of my BookBox books split down by category. I would love to know your opinions on which of these books are worthwhile and if any of them I should probably just skip. In particular, I would like to know if any of the books I've given a low intrigue score of are likely to surprise me, as my gut instinct is just to unhaul them straight away. But that's all that I've got for you today. So thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.